This is from the Washington Post. This is by Ben Guarino, and I'll try to remember to link to this below. The chemsex scene, an increasingly popular and sometimes lethal public health problem. The young couple's day wound down like any other ordinary Monday. The men took their dog for an afternoon trip to the vet, followed by dinner and wine in a London flat. Again, London. It's always London. It's always... But about midnight in January, 18-year-old Miguel Jimenez decided he wanted something a little more exotic. He invited his boyfriend, up-and-coming lawyer named Henry Hendren, then 34, to take GHB. I don't get any weird, creepy, predatory vibes from that age discrepancy. Nah. Oh, you're not reliving out any abuse you might have suffered by somebody 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years your senior. No, you're perfectly normal. You aren't reliving your abuses. Same love, right? Recreational users ingest GHB, a depressant and psychoactive drug, to heighten arousal and spark feelings of euphoria. A controlled substance in Britain and the United States, it is sometimes found at raves, and more recently in the small but controversial chemsex subculture of London, New York City, and other urban areas. We read that Vice article. We know it's not small. You always have to say, oh, it's small. It's just a fringe thing. Except that most of them do have some sort of methamphetamine addiction or downer, whatever you want to, whatever drug, you name it, they're on it. Hendren declined the drug, saying he had to work the next day. Jimenez took it anyway. It was quite a nice experience, and we went to sleep, Hendren told the BBC in April. I woke up and he was dead next to me. For the wages of sin is... blank. Fill in the blank. After phoning for help, the lawyer tried in vain to resuscitate Jimenez. At one point, blood started to trickle out of his mouth, and I'm thinking he must be alive, but he's not, Hendren told CNN in an interview. I've broken his ribs or something and moving that blood around. When combined with alcohol, GHB can be fatal. So, wait, isn't GHB the date rape drug? And these homos are taking it? Fucking... When London arrived at Hendren's apartment with the paramedics, the officers arrested the lawyer. Hendren pleaded guilty in March for possession with intent to sell GHB and a stimulant, mephedrone. Mephedrone. I don't know what that is. The use of such drugs is a central aspect of the chemsex scene. Notice that you have not seen the word homosexual yet. They want to... They're like, no, you can't be like that. I have friends. They're very reliable. Use such drugs is a central aspect of the chemsex scene. In November, the BMJ Medical Journal published an editorial warning that chemsex needs to become a public health priority. Chemsex, as they define it, is typically practiced by men who have sex with men, while intoxicated, high on chemical cocktails of mephedrone, GHB, methamphetamine, or other mind-altering substances. Mephedrone, also known as meow meow, is a synthetic stimulant derived from cat, an African herb. As GHB use appears to be spiking in popularity in the United States, mephedrone is accruing new users in the United Kingdom. Although chemists first synthesized mephedrone in 1929, it's a relative newcomer to the recreational drug pantheon. A recent paper in the journal Lancet notes that it appeared in London in about 2007. By 2015, it was responsible for 34 deaths, according to the Lancet study, up from 22 in 2014. Taking GHB, mephedrone, and crystal meth together is meant to induce a feeling of instant rapport with sexual partners, the authors of the BMJ paper write. The ultimate goal is better sex for long periods of time, frequently and with multiple partners. Again, what did I tell you about dysfunction? Using your body beyond its intended purpose gives you this same love that's the same as your love. Yeah, it's all the same. Yeah, that's perfectly normal to be self-destructive, and you're doing self-destructive things with your body, and now you're putting more self-destructive things in your body, completely unrelated, could not possibly have anything to do with one another. And don't you know that the Nazis and Greeks and Romans did this kind of stuff? And that means it's okay because they were manly. Yeah, they were manly. Fucking... This is stuff I see, words I see over and over and over and over and over and over again. by white dudes. That's homophobic, bro. That's homophobic, bro. Well, who are your heroes? And who are you? Some retard who wants the approval of psychotic sex perverts. That's my culture. But Hannah McCullen, author of the editorial and a London-based reproductive health expert, told, reproductive health? What the hell would these guys know about that? She told the Washington Post in November she wouldn't call it outlandish behavior. Rather, she wants chemsex participants to be aware of risks, which include unprotected sex and sharing needles. A lot of people having chemsex make informed decisions, just as people using alcohol make informed decisions. Does that sound like an informed decision to you? Oh yeah, I'm informed that this will make me feel good. This will take me away from the guilt I feel for being a pervert. Oh yeah, they're plenty informed, all right. You restraint? Use restraint. The extent of chemsex's popularity has been difficult to pin down. One of the few studies to specifically address chemsex consists of interviews with 30 men. In a survey of more than 1,000 men who have sex with men in South London, 1 in 5 reported participating in chemsex at some point in the past 5 years. Part of difficulty in assessing chemsex's prevalence is because it's such a new phenomenon. And it's funny, a lot of these guys, they do it very young. And so they're probably asking men who weren't sexually active 5 years ago, maybe they were, who knows, maybe it was before they got viciously molested. I wonder how that 1 in 5 figure extrapolates over a 10, 15, 20-year period, assuming the HIV doesn't get to them first. Part of the difficulty in assessing chemsex's prevalence is because it's such a new phenomenon. Journalist Alex Kleinberg, who detailed his experience with the chemsex scene for the Huffington Post, wrote that as recently as 2008, nobody was talking about chemsex. Well, you engage in this dysfunction, you realize that it doesn't result in anything. You can keep doing it, you think, without consequence. You get bored of it because you do it so damn frequently, and then you're on to the next thing. This is how addiction works. This is why it's so fucking stupid to give these people the right to marry. This is why it's so stupid to give these people the right to marry. What do they produce? What fruit do they bear? Since 2008, that's Europe's greatest accomplishment, by the way. That's Anglo-Saxon culture's greatest accomplishment in the last. You ask somebody, well, what's our accomplishment? Well, we gave the gays the right to marry. We get the right to marry. We gave them the right to marry. Now they have it and their behavior's deteriorating. And it really isn't. It's always been there. We just ignore it. Take, for example, that one flight attendant thought to be patient zero of HIV, who was sexually active, I think, for like 10 years, and despite that small window right there, had over 2,000 sex partners. But nah, we was Greeks, we was Romans and shit, right? What draws people to chemsex is up for debate. Is it really that hard to figure out? It's called the law of diminishing returns. They don't realize that they're living a dead-end death style, not a lifestyle, it's a death style. This is the end result of all novelty seeking. And maybe it's genetic, maybe it's cultural, but whatever it is, we need to get rid of that impulse. Or else we will end up like this. That's where you want to be? Fine. Nothing I can do about it. I could just warn you. I can warn you about what the inevitability of certain behavior. And look, there are a lot of people out there telling you this is wrong. People throughout history telling you this is wrong. Examples throughout history as to why this is wrong. But nobody listens. Nobody listens. They think they're smarter than everyone else. What draws people to chemsex is up for debate. According to the handful of studies that exist, men may take chemsex drugs to manage negative feelings such as a lack of confidence and self-esteem, internalized homophobia, and stigma about their HIV status. Wow, I fucked up. Let me fuck up some more. That makes a lot of sense. Man, I'm really sad that some people don't like me. I better do crystal meth to make myself feel better. That's how the brain works, and it never seems to cross the minds of these homophiles that write this kind of stuff, like maybe it's because of internalized homophobia. Never crosses their mind that the reason they're turning to drugs is because they feel overwhelming guilt because they're using their body in a dysfunctional way. They're using it for dysfunctional purposes. Do men and their wives, when they have sexual intercourse, feel any guilt about what they've done if they do it as nature intended? No, they don't. That's what they're supposed to do. Now, if that man and woman, they shove stuff up each other's ass, yeah, maybe they'll feel that guilt and they'll start doing weird shit to alleviate that. Like, maybe do crystal meth or GHB, whatever. Yeah, maybe if they did that, they'd feel guilty. But again, that's a dysfunction. Dysfunction begets dysfunction. Oh, you stick your dick where it doesn't belong? And you do that and you base your entire life around that? And now you feel bad about that, so and you feel so bad about it, you're looking to numb the pain with crystal meth and GHB and whatever else. I hear this excuse so many times. Well, they're not accepted, therefore they do drugs to cope with the pain. I know so many people with less than ideal relationships with those closest to them, those you would think that would be close to them, like family. I know so many people who don't really get along with their family. Are they abusing GHB and crystal meth and doing chemsex? No, they aren't. It never crosses the homophile mind that maybe, just maybe, they engage in dysfunctional drug abuse because they engage in other dysfunctions in their life. And that dysfunction is something they identify as, first and foremost. But nah, it's internalized homophobia. It's your fault. It's always somebody else's fault, isn't it? Nobody takes personal accountability. Nobody. So it says they take chemsex drugs to manage negative feelings such as a lack of confidence and self-esteem, internalized homophobia, and stigma about their HIV status, McCall and her colleagues wrote in the BMJ. Others argue marginalized men use chemsex as a bonding mechanism, or simply because chemsex feels good. Bonding. Is that how you bond? Normal, again, it's like people that have, maybe a less than ideal relationship with their parents, let's say. They don't bond with other people by, let's do GHB together. It's always some excuse. Jews did it. Straight people did it. Homophobes did it. And on and on and on. In an interview with the British magazine Gay Times, where else would it come from? BBC Radio 4 journalist Mobeen Azhar recounted his experience hunting for chemsex anecdotes. I actively searched for someone to tell me how they'd made an informed and calculated choice to use chems, and that for them, the chem scene is just recreation. What he found instead, Azhar said, were stories tinged with sadness. How is that surprising? Even those who told me sex on chems made them feel like a don would follow up with such celebratory statements with tales of rejection, regret, loneliness, and longing for intimacy, he said. Yes, and that's something you can't get with pursuing this death style. You can't have it both ways, dumbasses. These became recurring themes among every chem user I spoke to. Hendren, the lawyer, has seen a brief encounter with the chemsex sweep away a promising future. Before Jimenez's death, Hendren was a rising star of a barrister who had represented Parliament member Nadine Dorries and celebrated such as Stella English, a winner of the British version of The Apprentice, who's well connected, having purchased about $1,400 worth of chemsex drugs from a producer at the BBC, Alexander Parkin. Those who love their lives will lose them. Now, once a month, Hendren travels to Jimenez's home country of Colombia to visit his boyfriend's grave. CNN reports, I may go to prison and whatever I get, I deserve. I have made some stupid decisions and you have to stand up and accept that, Hendren said to the BBC in April. Well, at least somebody's taken responsibility far too late after the fact. But that's the price that drugs make you pay. On Monday, London Central Criminal Court sentenced Hendren to 140 hours of community service. The sun has supernovaed on the British Empire, and we are living among the wreckage it created. There's more. What's next? Higher risk of mental health problems for homosexuals. We already kind of covered that. STDs peak in Minnesota. More than 800 cases reported on the range. Chicago to punish kids for wrong pronouns. And this is what your property taxes are paying for. MSU study, rare human disease found in dogs. Wonder why.